G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute. Today I'm joined by Algared and Grim from the Batcave. How you doing, Grim?
Hello. Appreciate you having me on.
Hmm. So tell us, Grim, a little bit about your cinematic that you released during Invictus Week.
Yeah, my name's Grim. I also go by Starjump. Some people know me from the cinematics I've put out last year, the Drake cinematic for IAE and the Aegis cinematic for Invictus this year. Primarily, what I try to do is just capture the Star Citizen fantasy and bring ships that people, that aren't in the game, kind of bring them to life. These things that people have pledged for and spent money on and are, anxiously waiting for. I try to do something that lets them see those ships in action and gets them excited for them, and also just show ships interacting in interesting ways. That's kind of the goal, is to just kind of give that Star Citizen fantasy thing. And yeah, they've been pretty successful. We've been getting a lot of people sending us messages of support and stuff. And so we're kind of planning more and more content. And obviously, more cinematics are coming in. Crusader will probably be next, and then
Mm.
RSI after that. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Have you had many people? Because I don't know if people know this, but I actually helped you get a lot of the logos for
Mhm.
different content creators, and they're quite well hidden. Um,
Yeah,
and I know you had a lot of trouble with that when we were talking about it.
yeah.
Have you had many messages from people that have said, "Hey, oh, I've noticed this logo, or I've noticed that logo"?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, especially when, like, the initial premiere happened, and a lot of people messaging saying, "Did I just see this? Did I just see this? Why was this there? Maybe I'm seeing things." But, when me and you were originally talking, when I was in development of the cinematic early on in, like, February, we were very much talking about, "Let's make these things, like, hard to find Easter eggs that would make people watch it over and over again," and that seemed to have worked. I mean, some of them are kind of obvious, and some of them are
mm,
are very well hidden. But the biggest challenge really came down to when I was creating scenes. I got near the end and I was like, oh, I still got like 8 logos I need to show, and I'm running out of scenes quickly.
mm,
So that's why there's this entire section of the cinematic in the middle that I call the rally point. It's just all these ships coming into the station because I was like,
yeah,
I need a way
yeah.
to show off
Yeah.
all these spaceships with logos on them. But it was a lot of fun, and kind of learned a lot in terms of executing on getting that many ships done. I think there was 62 ships in this cinematic. So,
I,
I
Yeah.
knew the Aegis one was gonna be big because they got a lot of ships, but it just kinda kept growing and growing and growing.
The other thing that I found was really good is that because you had all the cameos with all the logos,
Yeah.
that also changed the way you were coloring the ships. So instead of having
Yes.
50 ships that were all the same color, you had a black one, a red one, a blue.
Yeah.
And so that kind of added that
Yeah.
variance to it and gave a
Exactly.
reason to the coloring as well. So
Exactly, and then on top of it, a lot of the ships are we don't really know what they're gonna look like. You can take ships like the Polaris and Crucible and stuff like that, and there's some concept imagery, but they're not very clear on, like, what the
mm,
livery and the color is gonna look like. So, again, a lot of assumptions are taken on that. I mean, one of the big, warnings at the beginning of the cinematics is that I take liberties with this. Do not take this stuff as gospel. Don't go pledge for one of these based off something you're seeing in my cinematic, please.
that's right.
Um,
It's
but
like
yeah,
the best ship that you had, clearly the best
right.
ship you had was that Algared class
Of course. Of
Endeavor,
course. Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
you can't get that. You can't even configure it.
Yeah, and I will say that the Execute, Reclaimer and the Algared, Endeavor were, I think, the first 2 that were done, so
mm.
because those are very early on before
Mm.
really decided on doing all these different community people in the cinematic. I was just like, "I'm just gonna put a few people that I enjoy their content, just, 4 or 5,"
We,
and, but it grew from there.
you originally came to me and said you wanted to say thank you to Piggles for helping you out, and you wanted to
Yes.
thank
Yeah.
me, and I just went, "No, you need to do this. You need to go everyone, like
Yeah.
just go to town."
Well,
And
you know,
that's
yeah,
kind
it
of where
was
we went.
I wanted to thank people like Piggles and VMXEO who helped me actually complete the cinematic and help me with assets and conversions, because a lot of these ships you can't just go download the hollow model, or what I needed from the ship was more than the hollow model provided. And then on the flip side, there's people like you, Execute, and DG 360 is another one, who have really been just big voices of support throughout the entire process, not just when the cinematic comes out, but like
Mhm.
during development, saying, "Oh, this is great, keep going," and stuff. And that is really helpful, especially when I first started and I had like 20 YouTube subscribers only. And now I'm about to cross the 6,000 mark, which, so in a very short amount of time, through
Mm,
everyone's help, it's
mm.
been like a big group effort. We've really got this stuff out there, and it's been a lot of fun. And the more it gets out there, the more it encourages me to do more types of content.
I know you
So,
do this for the community, and that's the same reason
yeah,
me and Algared do this. So I'm more than
yeah,
happy to support you on that. And I know DG is all about that as well. So yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
And there's been a lot of them. It's been cool to see all the people. The Star Citizen community has been really great. So it's been cool
Mm.
to see everyone come out and help.
All right, because I forgot this at the start of the show. Leave a comment for hashtag Jaden in the comments for your chance to win an F7A Super F7A upgrade in Super Hornet. And I also
Yep.
realized that the tank episode that we released yesterday, of time of recording, because this will probably come later, didn't actually have that in it. So that'll be the only one of the entire thing that didn't have it in it for that time period. But yeah, fortunately, Eric Lanza is no longer with us, and his ship's looking for a new home. All right,
So, yeah, don't forget to subscribe as well as leave the hashtag Jaden.
that's true. All right, we'll kick it straight off over to the fleet viewer. Um, so this is your fleet as it stands currently, Mr. Grimm. Do you want to kind of go through it and tell us your reasoning for certain things? So let's start out with these little ground vehicles down here. We can probably bundle these three together. So what's the
Yeah.
meaning behind these three?
The ground vehicles really just came from, and I have a little bit of an interest in them just because they are fun. I think CIG has made driving a Cyclone a lot of fun.
Oh
Whether
yeah.
it's useful or not, I don't know, but they've made it fun. And it's something I can enjoy from time to time. I don't know if they have any intrinsic value to like what I want to do in the game, but it's just like kind of a fun thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm like
Oh,
that with the Ursa myself.
Yeah.
I love driving that thing.
Yeah.
Dragonfly, and I guess, or is that all you wanted to say about that? We can move on.
I would say the dragonflies in that boat. I know the
Mm.
dragonfly is a little different. That's I guess technically a snubcraft, but I kind of lump it in there with the ground vehicles. It kind of is just a fun factor vehicle.
I don't know if you've seen this yet, but I've seen one of these taking out tonks.
Oh
Just
wow,
flying around the tonk and shooting the shit out of it until it dies. Quite funny. Anyway,
nice.
85X. So tell us your thoughts about that. I think I know. Yeah, you told us earlier, but so I'm just.
Yeah,
I'll let you say it. But yeah, who gave
yeah.
you
The
this ship?
85X. Yeah, the 85X is always just a ship I've loved, just because it's a side by side little like shuttlecraft, which I think any side by side ship is really cool. By the way, just for
Hmm.
the role play purposes of it, it's cool to look over and see your friend there. But community member and Starlit gifted this one to me, which was really amazing of her, and I've been flying it around the last few days.
Mm, no, it's
the
just that
Nova.
you look at the rest of the lineup and the Stark Origin comparison. So I just thought I should point
Yep.
that out.
Yeah,
Nova.
And the
I
Nova.
will say I really like the 600iX or the 600i. Sorry, from a design standpoint, I appreciate Origin's design.
So tell us about the Tonk.
The Nova Tonk is definitely CIG's marketing department at work.
Hmm.
They got me on this one. I just that, and I was watching a lot of videos of people using the tonks and like little versus battles and stuff, and their marketing for it was great. And yeah, I just opened the wallet for it. Never thought about the tonk before that. It was just yeah, that's CIG's marketing.
No, you can definitely do that with it. Ooh,
Evil CIG.
alrighty, I'm having trouble controlling this camera clearly, or I'm drunk. All right, Scorpius. I'm assuming you fell into this hype as well, like you
Yeah,
did with it.
almost the exact same thing. The only thing I'll add to it is I did love the Star Wars vibes of it. I'll come out and say it easily, the X-wing thing. And when it first came out, I was convinced it was a single seat fighter, just like an F8 competitor, single seat heavy fighter. And then once I learned that it was a dual seater. I was like, I just kind of convinced myself I should still get it. I do really like it. I love the design of it. I
Hmm.
hope it is a clear indication of where some of the bigger ships in the RSI line are heading, like the
Hmm.
Polaris. I know the Perseus kind of has hints of this ship in it too. But I really like it. Again, I just don't see myself flying a dual seater fighter much, especially when I know other people that have it and can fly with them.
So let me guess. That's why you ran out and brought this single seat one. No.
Yeah, so I've been really happy with the Crusader ships. I think they did an awesome job on the Star Runner, awesome job on the C2, which is another one here in the fleet. And I just sort of said, you know what? They've done so good on those. I can't see how the Ares is going to be a bad ship. The fact that it's a single pilot ship, also with a huge gun on it. I also like the idea that it's a bespoke weapon that is being developed uniquely for this ship, which leads me to think that this will be a very overpowered size 7 gun. And I'm kind of interested in seeing what that's like to fly around with.
It certainly is a tank buster rather than
Yeah,
a capital ship killer, but yeah.
right.
Cutlass Black.
Um, Cutlass Black, that's my pledge package. When I first pledged for the game, I got a freelancer and it took all of just a couple of days to switch to the Cutlass. I love the way the Cutlass flies, its VTOL capability, just its utilitarian industrial feel. Um it's definitely the ship I've had the most memories in Star Citizen in, just like fun memories, and it's something I don't see giving up.
Redeemer, of which I'm a big
Redeemer.
fan of.
Yeah. So this is a ship I've never thought about. There was even a time I thought it was quite ugly. It's grown on me over time, and when I saw their redesigns of it, some of their redesign tweaks um, really spoke to me. Just different things like the tail being inverted to where the stabilizers go up and stuff. Just little changes they made started to speak to me. And then when I saw it in the Invictus Hall, I was like, "Wow, this is really interesting." And then I watched the Inforunners episode where you went in depth on it and maybe what this ship is going to be able to do that a lot of people didn't think about, and specifically the conversation around close air support, but being able to drop a ground team off, but then be able to go up and protect them from the air.
Hmm.
I just got to thinking that's really cool, and so I got one for that reason alone.
Mm,
I still am a little on the fence with it, probably like the 60, probably like 80% on the fence with it, but every
Mm.
day I'm getting more and more convinced.
so this was another of the, marketing department's,
Yeah,
influence on you, right?
yeah,
We're getting a theme here.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the community to some degree for sure. Um, Yeah, so the Corsair his was really the first ship that I pledged for that was like, this is the treat to myself. I love this ship. I love the look of it. I don't care if the side turrets are useless. It's got all this forward facing firepower and it looks cool. I want it. I didn't even honestly know it was an explorer ship when I first pledged for it. I just thought it looked cool.
Yep.
Um, I am a Drake fan as well. I actually feel like this ship is looks the most non-Drake of Drake ships, funny enough. But I
Interesting.
do still really like it, and I'm interested to see where they take it.
Yeah, I am starting to notice a theme, Algared. Yeah, very much hype me and I buy
Yes.
CRG. Yes.
Yep.
MSR.
Well, yeah, I'll say, a lot of the reason I was inspired to do the cinematics by concept art. It speaks to me. What can I say?
Mm.
The MSR. Now this was a ship I just really back in a year or two ago, I was really interested in data running and thought that that could be a cool gameplay scenario. I thought this was an interestingly designed ship. Originally, I thought it was going to be a much smaller ship, though, and more of kind of a daily driver. I actually think of it as quite a quite large ship now, and although I enjoy it, I don't know if it's quite got the personality that matches me. If it's kind of a weird thing to say, but I don't know if it totally matches me personality wise.
For me, its downfall is lack of windows. That sounds so dumb, but
Hmm.
it feels so claustrophobic. More hype. The Hercules
Yeah,
C2.
I pledged for the Hercules, I think the same time I pledged for the Star Runner. So this was like a year or two ago. And I just thought it was cool that it was a big old cargo hauler. I was having a lot of fun with the Caterpillar at the time because I had it as a loaner. And it would really just kind of came down to, oh, the C2 is an even bigger cargo hauler, but yet small enough that I can go down planet side really easily and you know, not use it as a daily driver, but just kind of get from point A to point B easily. So it was an easy buy for me.
Yep.
Mm. The Carrack.
Carrick, yeah. So when I initially got into Star Citizen, all I wanted to do was the exploration gameplay loop. That's what interested me, the whole Star Trek fantasy. So the Carrick was the way to go. It was the big bad, exploration ship. Once I got it in my hands, I kind of fell in love with it more because it had just, stuff that I honestly didn't expect it
Yep.
to have, like this huge medical suite, the drone bay, cargo pod. So it just made sense to get. Now, I will say though that as I've learned more and more about exploration gameplay, it's maybe not my favorite ship anymore, but it's definitely up there in the list.
That's
Interesting.
heresy. That's heresy. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
My voice is still hasn't recovered from Invictus, by the way.
That
So,
may that may change when like jump points and stuff come out, though. We'll see.
Mhm.
yeah. All right. The Polaris.
So the Polaris was actually kind of like a bucket list ship, a ship that I really intended to earn in game, as like an in game, like this is the thing I'm going to work for, because I love everything about the ship from its design to its role, etc. And some of it's just little accoutrement things like a brig, for example, just seems really cool to me.
Yep.
Um, and then I had a friend who was a fan of the cinematics that heard I was really interested in the ship and was able to secure me one of those hard to get or once hard to get CCUs. So I was kind of CCU'd to it. And of course, now it's not limited and easier to get. So.
I thought you were going to say
Still
someone
not a
gave
bad
it to
thing.
you, and I was about to get really jealous. But
No, the CCU, but it was definitely something I appreciate. It was a nice CCU, and they're definitely a cool person that's helped me out quite a bit.
the Clacon.
Yeah, the Kraken. So the Kraken was a ship I never thought I would get. I loved it since the day I saw it. But even when I first pledged for the game, I was like, yeah, I'll never set foot on this ship ever. Probably never own one, but I love it. I love aircraft carriers in real life, the look and feel of them, and just naval history. And this to me spoke that.
Mm.
And I ended up running into a situation last year where I sold a house, and I was like, you know what, it's time to treat myself. So I just got the Kraken, a war bond Kraken. And even there's still days even now where I'm like, oh wow, I own a Kraken. So
Yeah.
um, yeah,
And
then the main reason I like this ship is just the emergent possibilities of it. You see this all the time, but you could load it with prospectors. It could be a pirate headquarters. It could be anything, and I think that's what I love about it is that it could be anything.
and it's the only ship really that gives us that real flat top feel, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Even the Bengal doesn't really give us that flat top feel. It does have that landing pad, but you've still got it's in most of its stuff is interior, whereas this
Yeah.
you've got you
I
land on the
I'm a
decks and you
s-
stay there.
Yeah, I'm surprisingly a sucker for like really cool visuals, and I sometimes picture what it's going to be like being on the Kraken bridge looking
Yeah.
out over the flight deck and stuff. I think that's going to be really really cool.
Mm.
Hence why you've got the Corsair, right?
Yes, of course.
So we
It is certainly one of the best looking ships.
Yes.
so we asked Grim what he wanted to do in game, and his response to us was exploration and piracy, in short. And so with that, I made a fleet, and Algared made a fleet. So this is the one that I made. Um, so what I've done is I've taken the Corsair and the Mercury Star Runner and the Hercules and converted them a little bit. So the C2 becomes a banner merchantman. Now, for the price, the C2 is currently at $400 now. So for an extra $50, he can go to a banner merchantman, where it would cost him $60 to go to to an M2. So for the extra $50, this to me is an absolute no-brainer. Doubles the size of the ship, essentially gives him shops, and it would pair very well with the Kraken as if he ever wants to shipyard it into a privateer. So that's
And at
it.
this point, Execute can't go any further because he's actually got my fleet up there. Um,
Oh, sorry, wrong one. My bad. I went to the wrong one. Yeah, so that's the one I went. My bad. Yeah, sorry, I totally forgot. Well, let's do yours then, Agrid. So
all right.
since I
So,
went to the wrong one.
like Execute, I'd go the BMM. I think the BMM is a much better ship. Certainly in terms of what Grim was saying, in terms of uh, liking that he did say he did like doing the cargo hauling as well, and so this gives a lot of versatility because he likes the exploration. I actually looked at the reclaimer because one of the things that CIG have often said in terms of salvage is it's not just going and munching something up. You've actually got to go and explore the interior of a ship and take out the the explodables or the valuables and in those ships, you will sometimes find viruses or bugs or aliens or possibly pirates or other scary things. And so it's a bit like exploration of the interior of a ship. And so the Reclaimer does offer that gameplay. And at the moment, even though it is in game, because the Claw and its facilities aren't working, when Salvage Zero comes on, you'll actually get a Vulture to use to play around with that anyway.
Right.
With that in mind, I then said, look, if you've got a Reclaimer, then a Crucible really pairs well with that because the stuff you salvage you can then repair. And then because you've got the BMM, you can actually sell it off into BMM. So those three really work together as a nice hub.
Crucible does go pretty well with piracy as well, being able to repair your own
Yeah.
fleet as well.
So it really does dovetail well. And the BMM again, as a pirate, selling off your stuff, your ill-gotten gains, and being able to set up a mobile shop somewhere and disappear. Um, I then go for a Connie. This is six of one, half a dozen of another. The only reason I'm going for the Connie is I asked Grim what size of group he'd normally be playing with, and he said, "Oh, usually 3 or 4 mates." And so the Connie or any ships that fit into that range are really good in that goal. And the Connie gives you significant versatility in the types of gameplays. So you've got the snub fighter, you've got the ability to take a mining vehicle or an Ursa, you've got cargo, you've got the ability to go exploration. It is a bit more on the combat side,
But that
but
does lead to the Corsair that he had. I think it's an improvement on the
and
Corsair he
it
had.
does lend
Yeah.
in that, and I think it's an upgrade on the Corsair. Although it's not as iconic looking, it doesn't have that real visual look that the Corsair has. But in terms of the gameplay things you can do with the Connie, I think it's on par and better than a Corsair. Um, but the other side is Execute's option for that, and I'll pass it over to you.
Sure thing. Sorry about that stuff up earlier. Yeah, so yeah, as you can see, I basically took the Hercules as I started with and made that the Banner Merchantman. I took the Mercury Star Runner and the Corsair, and I did it again. And I went down the route of I turned the Corsair into a caterpillar because I think that gave you the other side of the versatility where the Redeemer was still too close to the Corsair, where Algared doubled down and went he kind of upgraded the Corsair into the Connie. So I went for
Yeah,
versatility and different forms of gameplay, and it also allowed him to keep Drake because he said he liked Drake ships.
yeah,
Other than what Algared did, where he split it up and got lots of little different things, I tried to look at the ships that I already had and doubled down on that. Hence the Banner Merchantman. So I went into the Nautilus. Why did I go in the Nautilus? Because it'll allow you to cover this Kraken a lot better. You can drop it all your turrets off, and it's all passive. And it gives him another big ship that'll also work with the Polaris in the same way. So he did mention that he did want to go into industry at some point, and that's
mm,
why Algred went into things like the Crucible and the Reclaimer. Um,
yeah,
but that was a little bit further down the list. So I can see him going both ways because again, 725 for this, and as Crucible, as Algred said with the Reclaimer and the Crucible, that's 750. So they're about the same in price range. Either way works, and that gives Grim some flexibility to work with what he's got. He could completely ignore everything we've said and go for another ship or ships in that price range as well. That's just what me and Algred have recommended.
yeah.
What's your thoughts there? Let's just get some feedback from Grim. Which way would you be more inclined to go yourself? So let's start out with say the Caterpillar or the Connie, Grim. I'm just kind of curious your
Mhm.
how you're thinking.
Yeah, I think well, both of you brought up really cool points I hadn't considered, so I appreciate that. I think the caterpillar. Well, I'll start with Algred's layout here. So this was interesting in just that a lot of times I don't think about how different professions can filter into things like other professions. So how industrial professions can actually be a form of exploration. I hadn't really thought of it like that. But the more you described it, I was like, oh yeah, that's really cool. I love the idea of
There's a
the unknown when you go to a
Mm,
salvage site. You
there's
know what
a
I mean? Versus the unknown of a mining site. There's some danger with the salvage site, and that kind of spoke to me.
there's
I
a
do really
Sorry to
go
interrupt.
ahead.
There is a reason why the Reclaimer is my favorite ship. And that
Yeah, and
what you just explained is why. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
and again, I just never thought of it that way, and I think that's really cool and expands the exploration possibilities into a realm I hadn't really considered. So I really like that. I have a reclaimer that I bought in game that I really love messing around with, and the Crucible is always a ship that's fascinated me. Um, so I like that a lot. The Connie is a ship that I don't have a lot of experience with other than just kind of riding
It's
shotgun
a
and
ship
other
you love or
people's.
hate. It is a
Yeah,
ship you
and
love or hate.
I actually think the Connie's going to end up in a great place because I think a lot of these ships, as they're going through gold standard, including what I've heard about the Retaliator having some nips and tucks occur with it. I think the Connies are going to get there, and I think with this Taurus about to come out, they're going to also have almost an extra little polish pass applied to all of them. So the Connie, I think, is definitely worth another look for me pretty soon, and I think that could be a very viable path to go down.
Mm.
The
Chris,
Merchantman, on the Merchantman specifically, I would say, its loaner is a C2 as well, I believe, and,
it is.
with its current price and the fact that it's practically a cap ship, it seems like a no-brainer on it, honestly, just from a value standpoint, so.
Mm.
Mm.
And the Crucible, what are your thoughts on that? Because he went down the industry route and kind of split it up. So I'm interested to
Yeah,
know what you think about the Crucible as well.
and Crucible, one thing I do like about the Crucible, is its emergent gameplay possibilities. I kind of love this idea of being, you know, s- uh, sort of like that militia pirate gameplay where people can call on you if they need you for
Mm.
something, whether it's piracy or militia operations or something. I think the
Mhm.
Crucible will be that profession that requires. I know there'll be NPC beacons and stuff, but I see that being a profession that gives you a lot of interaction with other players and the ability to meet new people and stuff. So I kind of like that from the Crucible. So that's always intrigued me about that ship.
Owning a Kraken too, I think it's really important to point out is how are you going to get that repaired without having to take it back to a shipyard that could be a couple of systems away. The only way
Right.
you can
Yeah.
do that is a Crucible. So, like,
Yeah. Exactly.
personally, if you own a cap ship, I think it's almost a requirement to me personally to own a Crucible. But hey,
Yeah.
that's just me.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, opposed to my fleet.
Mhm.
So tell me, which would you prefer? That's kind of what I'm trying to ask. So, like that's why I said Constellation and Caterpillar because they both fall into the same spot. So, which would you choose personally, a Caterpillar or a Connie?
And I do
Because
think both of those are six of one, half a dozen of another. That they've
Yeah.
both got advantages and disadvantages, and it's
what I'm trying to get
I
at
would
here,
say
hang on, just what I'm trying to get at here is you can actually mix and match between mine and Algared's.
Mhm.
That's why I'm
mm,
trying to bring this up. So if you wanted to go Caterpillar over Connie, you could, but then you could go
yeah,
like you could so take the Caterpillar, but then you could get rid of the Nautilus and take the Reclaimer and the Crucible. That's what I'm trying
yeah,
to show you here is the
yeah.
mixing and matching ability here.
From the Caterpillar or the Connie, if you were to ask me right now, it would probably be the Caterpillar just because I did use one in game for a long time. I really like it. I love its asymmetricalness. I love the
mm,
fact that it's going to have all this modularity. I hope that, like in my Drake cinematic, that command module is going to be detachable someday and you can use it as its own little thing. I know there was a blurb about how those command modules are like
yeah,
raced by the mechanics. I just love all the functionalities of that ship. That said, I do really think the Connie is kind of that Star Citizen poster ship, and I do think it's going to get a lot of love and could end up being a really, really solid ship. So, if I had to choose right now, I'd probably choose the Caterpillar. However, it's one of those things I would always probably keep an eye on where the Connie's going,
And the
mm,
advantage of the
and where it ends up.
Caterpillar is that it's actually more expensive though, so that's the problem. You'd
Mm,
almost want to get the
yeah.
Andromeda and have a CCU to the
the cat.
Caterpillar. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um
Yeah.
kind of looking at this, I'm almost kind of leaning towards the mash option where don't get the
Hmm.
Nautilus, and get the Crucible and the Reclaimer, especially if you really are drawn into that industrial stuff, and get the
Yeah.
Caterpillar over the Andromeda. Because now I've sat here and analyzed it, I think it gives you more versatility, um, and I'm almost
One other
thinking.
benefit might from the industrial ships, and I think about this often. One other advantage might just be more ways to generate money to pay
Mm,
for cap ship upkeep.
Mm,
Obviously, in this
Yeah.
list, I got a Polaris and a Kraken sitting there. We already know the Polaris is actually going to be bigger. John
mm,
Cruz said that recently. So I've already started being a little concerned about what those costs of upkeep are going to be.
yeah.
Yeah.
So-
And
Um,
and I think that's one of the things where those industry ships can make money as opposed to just doing box missions or
mm,
taking a gamble on delivering cargo. Whereas, so they do add um, to those possibilities. And even as you were saying, the Crucible gives you that ability to not only do NPC type interactions and repair your own stuff, but also work with players and help them get their fleets back up and running. So
right.
yeah,
mm. And I'm gonna chuck another one in there. If you do want to go the value proposition, and you like, I know the Reclaimer is like 6 degrees of separation because it doesn't fall into that exploration slash piracy gameplay. But having the Kraken and you've got that kind of floating base, you could actually also. I know I can hear people knowing that I'm going to say it already. Don't get the Reclaimer. What about getting an Endeavor, because you know that's going to increase as well in size and value.
and then
So
you've got the Endeavor and the Crucible.
yeah.
What more
Right.
could you want?
What more Inforunners could you have than those two?
Right. Yeah.
But that is something to consider because the Endeavor and the Kraken do pair really well because they're both going to be kind of sitting in space as bases, and then earn the Nautilus very quickly in game and use that to defend both of them. You've
Yeah.
got a lot
And if
of
you are thinking of doing the Endeavor, it does get I believe a cat and
mm.
a Cutlass Red as a loaner ship.
Okay.
So
the
that's two Drake ships.
yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
You've got a lot of flexibility there, man, because you've got no packs whatsoever.
Yeah.
Right.
So you know, and you can upgrade off things to save value. Obviously, your Cutlass is your game package, so you'll probably have to turn the Cutlass into one of these ships. But you know, yeah, looking at your CCUs and stuff, you've got some nice flexibility there, man. That you could
Yeah.
always put more money into the game if that's what you want to do as well. It's in, you know, the world is your oyster at this point. I don't think you've made any really large mistakes. You did just buy into the hype, so but
That's my biggest problem is the CIG marketing department. Yeah, they
mm,
can work
Yeah.
me over from time to time, and I was
mm,
honestly glad that Invictus they didn't have any new big ships to show off because it would have been even more painful. I was able to
Mm.
mostly resist the Perseus.
mm,
I got a CCU for that last year, but it was
mm,
just a character Perseus, so it's cheap. But yeah, their marketing department can be quite effective on me.
mm,
I
But
think most
more
effective on most of us.
yeah, and the other thing too that comes into play sometimes with this stuff is just when I see upcoming gameplay features on the roadmap, I can sometimes get pulled into that and make
Yep.
purchasing decisions based off that. And I've because I only pledged into Star Citizen in 2018, but I'm starting to learn my lessons now and not do that
mm,
and
Yep.
not pledge money based off the roadmap. It's taken a
yeah,
I,
couple disappointments, but I'm getting there. I'm
mm,
getting
I could tell you were a fairly recent backer when you were talking about the Cutlass,
mm,
how it flew really nicely and was great
mm,
because when it first
there.
came out, it flew like a
Right.
hog in space. It was woeful. It flew worse than a Starfarer.
yeah.
Right. Okay.
Um, so it was pretty
Yeah.
shocking, and it actually got redesigned and redone, and it became a really nice looking ship.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
All right, so I think
but yeah,
we'll start to wrap it up there. But yeah, Grim, keep us informed on what decisions you make and where you go, and if you need
Will
any
do.
more help, let us know.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
Where can people find you on the YouTube, Grim?
Well, on YouTube, you can just go and type Starjump, and we will usually pop up right up there. Or otherwise, you can type Starjump and Star Citizen, and we will pop up. We're building a community there, and on our YouTube page, there's a link to our Discord.
Mm-hmm.
We have a small Discord community, but we talk ships, we talk upcoming projects, and I post early preview stuff for the projects we're working on. I post them there
Mm.
first. So yeah, those
Yeah,
are the two main
I'm
places.
I'm on there, and there's definitely a few
Yep.
other people on there as well. Good little
Yeah.
community. All right. Also, I'll do hashtag Jaden again in the comments. Yeah, if you guys are interested in winning an F7A upgrade and Super Hornet, unfortunately, Eric Lanza is no longer with us, and his friend is looking for a new home for his mate's ship. Um, If you like this type of content, please subscribe, like, want to go extra mile on Patreon, all that type of stuff. Let us know in the comments below where you think Grim should go. We did give him a lot of openness because his fleet, unlike a lot of people's, was not in packs and stuff like that. So he's got a lot of flexibility where he can
Flexibility.
go, which is really, really good. Also, I know that a lot of people are going to say don't melt some of those ships because you can upgrade them and you've probably earned a bit of money. So things like the Mercury Star Runner and stuff like that. So go through those and see which ones are the best value ones to upgrade up. Generally,
Yep.
it's the smaller ones you want to cut off. But I think you'll be fine with that. But again, we'll help you with that if you need help. Anything you want to add, Algared?
No, that's pretty much it. Like,
Cool.
subscribe, all that stuff. Leave your comments. Be respectful. Yeah.
He's been Algared. He's been Grim from the Batcave. I've been Execute. And we'll catch you in the next
And
one.
we're out of here.
Thanks.
Take care.